Hello everyone, and welcome back to Turkish Series Stars. I'm thrilled you're here with me, whether you're a long-time subscriber or just discovering us for the first time. If you haven't yet, please hit subscribe and turn on notifications. Your support keeps this community vibrant and lets us dig deeper into the stories you love. Today, we're stepping behind the curtain of one of the most talked about screen pairings in modern Turkish television. A duo whose aura of mystery has sparked whispers in studios, on red carpets, and across late-night conversations. We're talking about Barış Arduç and Elçin Sangu, and the shadows that seem to follow their dazzling light. We all know the version presented to us, two acclaimed stars whose work has reached audiences far beyond Turkey's borders. When Barış and Elçin share the frame, sparks fly, directors praise the ease with which they lock into each other's rhythm, and fans read every glance as a message. Their chemistry is the kind that blurs lines. But where does the performance end? And where does something more private begin? Tonight, we're not here to chase cheap rumors. We're here to connect the visible dots, interviews, public appearances, carefully chosen words, and telling silences. And ask what might live in the spaces in between. Let's start with Barış. On screen, he has that rare intensity that doesn't require dialogue to speak. In conversation, he can be reserved, polite, thoughtful, economical with words. When he finally answers, the weight of what he says lingers. Is this restraint simply his nature, or has time taught him to create a boundary that can't be crossed without permission? It's worth remembering that artists who give us big feelings on camera often protect themselves fiercely off camera. Barış appears at some premieres and then disappears for long stretches, prompting the tabloids to ask questions. Perhaps those gaps are just that, gaps for rest, personal work, or quiet, but they make room for speculation. Were there projects he stepped away from at the last minute? Relationships with collaborators that didn't last? Private commitments that require total focus? When you live at the center of attention, walls become a form of shelter. Now think about Elçin. She lights up rooms with charm, wit, and a mischievous warmth that feels genuine even in heavily choreographed settings. Yet, in a few interviews, you'll catch a delicate shift, eyes that soften, a pause stretched just a beat longer than expected, a hint of wistfulness that slips through. She's spoken about the challenge of balancing an unforgiving schedule with the need to simply be a human being at home. Are these reflections just the reality of any hardworking artist? Or is there a deeper message flowing beneath? Changes in what she shares online, invitations she accepts or declines, and the evolving circle around her, all become notes in a melody we can't fully hear. It's easy to imagine family expectations, private milestones, or even a promise made to herself that keeps certain doors closed. And then there's the question that always rises to the surface: their connection. Professionally, their harmony is so precise it feels rehearsed by fate. They complete each other's energy in a way that's become its own legend. That synchronicity has fueled endless talk. Are we seeing pure craft, or the residue of something lived? If there is more between them than work, why would they be so careful, so consistent, so aligned in withholding it? Some couples live out loud, posting daily proof of a love story. Others choose to carry their bond like a secret garden, hidden from the world's hands. Could they be protecting more than privacy, perhaps a plan, an agreement, or a shared project that needs to incubate away from noise? Let's not ignore how precise they become when doing joint interviews. Ask them about career choices, they'll answer with clarity. Ask them about their private connection, and watch the choreography. The exchanged glance, the almost smile, the pivot to safer ground, all feel too smooth to be accidental. It could be tenderness. It could be a media strategy honed over years. It could even be both, because emotion and calculation can coexist in the entertainment arena. When the stakes are high, maintaining a united front becomes its own language. Consider the breadcrumbs the press collects. One skips a major gala with a vague excuse, the other appears without a traditional +1. A director mentions a brilliant but mysterious meeting. A crew member posts a photo with a caption that says everything and nothing. In isolation, these details are nothing but noise. Arrange them side by side, and they begin to hum. Not a confession, never that, but a hum that keeps the conversation going. And if a topic pinches too close to bone, there's that gentle redirection, that soft shield one lifts while the other smiles and talks about the work, the craft, the future. There is a world where this story's so-called secrets are less scandal and more sanctuary. Imagine Barış pouring himself into a philanthropic endeavor that can only function in the dark, no cameras, no press releases, just action. Picture Elçin immersing herself in something radical and creative, a project that demands silence so it can grow without being judged before it's ready. The word secret doesn't always belong to betrayal. Sometimes it belongs to protection, to reverence for something delicate, to the stubborn insistence that not everything must be content. Fame leaves fingerprints on mental health. That isn't a revelation, it's common knowledge whispered behind every smile on every red carpet. Anxiety, exhaustion, the numbness that follows overstimulation, these are frequent companions. If you've watched carefully, you've seen the signs, the laugh that's a touch too bright, the absence that feels restorative rather than suspicious, the re-emergence that looks like a person who's chosen themselves. What if what ties Barış and Elçin together most profoundly is not a headline love story, but a private pact to hold each other steady? To be the person who says, stop, breathe, come back when you're ready? A bond like that resists spectacle by design. When you track their careers across years, you see courage in choices that don't always make commercial sense. They've taken pauses. They've turned down obvious blockbusters. They've taken risks that seemed opaque in the moment and completely logical in hindsight. What looks like a misstep might be a lesson acquired quietly, a line they refuse to cross again. There are meetings not taken, offers left on the table, creative differences walked away from without a scene. You won't get the blow-by-blow, that isn't their way. But you will feel the afterglow in the projects they do choose, the ones that hold their names like promises. Now, let's address the possibility that none of this ambiguity is accidental. Mystery isn't just romantic, it's strategic. In a world that devours content by the minute, leaving something unsaid can be a masterstroke. The less they confirm, the more we discuss, the more the myth grows legs. Maybe they've learned the rare power of withholding. Maybe they understand that anticipation is its own currency. The line between authenticity and design is thin out here, and the most successful stars walk it with a dancer's balance. Still, when you watch them together, really watch, you sense more than maneuvering. There's that warmth that doesn't read as performance, a comfort that can't be faked for long. It's in the small, unguarded beats, the shared joke only they get, the hand that hovers with familiarity and then retreats because the cameras are too close, the way one answers a question that could wound the other and somehow turns it into soft light. These moments don't insist. They just exist, and we witness them the way we witness waves, always in motion, always returning to shore. Let's imagine a different angle, a long game. Picture a project seeded years ago, developed in secret across rooms we'll never see, scripts drafted at odd hours, soundtracks tested in hallways, a visual language built from shared memories. A story that needs both of them to be what it is, a story that asks for patience without apology. Announcing it too soon would dilute the magic, so silence becomes the mechanism of respect. If that reveal is coming, it will be timed to the rhythm they've kept all along, deliberate, patient, impossible to ignore when it arrives. And yes, there will always be the temptation to imagine darker versions of this tale, rifts, betrayals, a storm behind the smiles. But ask yourself if the evidence truly points there. The air around them doesn't feel like chaos. It feels curated, careful, protective. It feels like two people who understand the cost of living on screen and have chosen not to spend everything in public. That choice may frustrate those who want answers, but it also suggests a wisdom learned the hard way. What can we say with confidence? They are meticulous about their boundaries. They are gracious but not transparent. They show you the work, not the workshop. And every so often, they reveal a firmer truth. That intimacy becomes more powerful when it isn't constantly measured by strangers. They know their names generate conversation. They also know conversation doesn't have to lead to confession. Before we close, I want to circle back to the heartbeat of this discussion, the allure created by what we don't know. With Barış and Elçin, the unknown has become a kind of poetry, a space we fill with our hopes and theories. Maybe that's the real magic trick. Maybe the reason we keep watching, keep wondering, is that we sense a story that refuses to be rushed. Whether it's a love held softly out of sight, a collaboration kept warm in secret, or a quiet vow to protect each other's peace, it lives in a realm we can feel but not fully claim. So tell me, what do you hear in the silence between their words? What threads do you think connect the choices they make, the appearances they skip, the smiles that arrive exactly when needed? Do you believe they are shielding a tender truth, or are they simply masters of an art that includes the art of withholding? I want to read your thoughts. Share your theories, your readings of their gestures, the moments that convinced you there's more here. The comments are where this community comes alive, and I'll be there with you, dissecting every beat. If today's deep dive resonated, tap like, share this with a friend who can't stop rewatching their scenes, and make sure you're subscribed to Turkish series stars. We're committed to telling these stories with care, curiosity, and a little bit of elegance, because the people we admire deserve nothing less. Until next time, keep your eyes open, keep your hearts soft, and remember, sometimes the most compelling chapters are the ones still being written out of sight.